Good afternoon and welcome to a recording of our live English lesson from today, Friday the 22nd of January. Please take the time now to write down the date and the learning objective. Pause the video here while you do that. Okay, so we'll start off today's lesson with the word of the week. It's been the word hilarious, which means to be funny. So could you please now write down a sentence using the word hilarious correctly? Pause the video here. So we're continuing with our explanation of was Tutankhamun killed, and we are now going to move on to the next part of our lesson on the how do we know about him. So we're going to use the explanation features, and we've looked at these previously this week, and we can see that we have a title which may contain a question. We use paragraphs, we use the correct tense, we use the perfect tense, we use conjunctions, and we can use illustrations, diagrams, maps, or photographs. So once again today we've moved on to the second part of our explanation, which is how do we know about Tutankhamun. So we're going to be writing 3 paragraphs here on how do we know about him. So we're now going to go into our ebook and have a look at Tutankhamun. So how do we know about him? Well, if we look here, we know that we know about him because Howard Carter was the one that found his body. And the search we can see here was taking part in the Valley of the Kings, and he was found in 1922. We can know that the tomb was well hidden, but they did manage to find it, and they know that it's definitely him because it had the royal seal of his name. It was also in the newspaper, so that's how we know about Tutankhamun. So it showed the discovery of the tomb and Tutankhamun's sarcophagus. We also know that Howard Carter was an expert in the treasures of ancient Egypt, and we know that he was paid by Lord Carnarvon, who was very rich, who had an interest in ancient Egypt. You can see here a picture of the Valley of the Kings and the tomb. We can see here that it was meant for an ordinary person, so it must have been very special or very hidden so that they couldn't find it. And we also have a map to locate exactly where the Valley of the Kings was. So taking all of that information and using Google to search elsewhere on how do we know about Tutankhamun, we then go back to our writing. So here's my title of this paragraph, how do we know about him? And I then begin my 1, 2, 3 paragraphs about Tutankhamun. So Howard Carter was an expert in treasures of ancient Egypt. His search was paid for by Lord Carnarvon because he was very rich. Howard had been looking for the tomb for many years. He searched in part of the desert called the Valley of the Kings, and he found the tomb in November 1922. It was buried in an ordinary person's tomb, so it means it was meant to be well hidden well. Howard Carter found lots of treasures that tell us all about Tutankhamun's life, and when they found his body, it was preserved, and years later, scientists could look at it more closely. So that's how we know all about Tutankhamun. Now, if I'm thinking back to my features of explanation text and making sure that I've got all of these things in, I'm just going to do a little bit of a checklist. So yes, I've definitely got a title. I've definitely got paragraphs. I can see here that I've used conjunctions. I can see also that I've used perfect tense. Okay, so I've used all of the things in our features list. So let's just have a look. I've used a title, I've used paragraphs, I've used the correct tense and perfect tense, and I've used conjunctions. And that leaves just one thing that I've forgotten to use in my explanation. So if we move a little bit further down here, we can see that I Googled some photographs, and we can then add the photographs to our explanation. And I've used a picture of the Valley of the Kings and also a map as well. So today's task then is to research how we know about Tut. So this is looking at Howard Carter's search and scientists. So we're going to write 3 paragraphs about this, and we're going to include all of the features, remembering the one that I missed out too. So we've got all of the features used. So when you've done this, please take a photograph of your work and email it to me, and I'll get back to you with some feedback and some dojos. And that's it for today's lesson. So thank you very much. I'm just